Hello guys, now we will discuss very important topic which is effective communication skills. What is communication? Communication is the art of transmitting information, ideas and attitudes from one person to another. Communication is the process of meaningful interaction among human beings. Its essences: personal process, it occurs between people, it involves change in behavior, it means to influence others, expression of thoughts and emotions through words and actions, tools for controlling and motivating people. It is a social and emotional process. What are most common ways we communicate? Through spoken words, through visual images, through written word, and through body language. Types of communication: downward communication, highly directive, from seniors to subordinates, to assign duties, give instructions, to inform, to offer feedback, approval, to the highlighted problems, etc. Upward communication, it is non-directive in nature, from down below, to give feedback, to inform about progress, problems and seeking approvals from the higher management. Lateral or horizontal communication, this is among colleagues, peers at the same level, for information sharing, for coordination, to save time. In modern business environment, communication extends beyond written or spoken words to listened word. Visual dimension added by TV, computers has given new meaning to the communication. Communication networks: formal network, virtually vertical as per chain go command within the hierarchy. Informal network, free to move in any direction, may skip formal chain of command, likely to satisfy social and emotional needs, and also can facilitate task accomplishment. So we look at this hierarchy level where is executive director. Now this is the downward communication down the line, from ED to VP and to AGM and further to manager and then to supervisor and then to foreman. Now upward communication would be the reverse of downward communication, and horizontal communication is among the people at the same level, supervisors or peers, and supervisors which are peers. Communication process. Now here there is a sender who transmits a message, and there is a receiver who receives the message or decodes it, and this is the medium. So sender transmits information through the medium to the receiver, and then there is a feedback process from receiver to the sender. Now there are certain barriers in between sender and receiver. What are these barriers? Noise, inappropriate medium, assumptions or misconceptions, emotions, emotions, language differences, poor listening skills, and distractions. Now this is very important. This is a very important to learn that there is difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is the physical process, it is the natural process and passive, whereas listening is physical as well as mental process, active learned process or skill. Listening is hard. You must choose to participate in the process of listening. So listening involves understanding the message, that what message is being given to us. So this is listening. Value of listening. Listening to others is an elegant art. Good listening reflects courtesy and good manners. Listening carefully to the instructions of superiors improve the competence and performance. The result of poor listening skill could be disastrous in business, employment, and social relations. Good listening can eliminate a number of imaginary grievances of the employees. Good listening skill can improve social relations, and conversations. Listening is a positive activity rather than a passive or negative activity. Essentials of communication. Do's. Always think ahead about what you are going to say. Use simple words and phrases that are understood by everybody. Increase your knowledge on all subjects you are required to speak. Speak clearly and audibly. Check twice with the listener whether you have been understood accurately or not. In case of an interruption, always do a little recap of what has been already said. Always pay undivided attention to the speaker while listening. While listening, always make notes of important points. Always ask for clarification if you have failed to grasp others' point of view. Repeat what the speaker has said to check whether you have understood accurately. Now, essentials of communication don'ts. Do not instantly react and mutter something in anger. Do not use technical terms and terminologies not understood by majority of people. Do not speak too fast or too slow. Do not speak in inaudible surroundings as you won't be heard. Do not assume that everybody understands you. While listening, do not glance here and there as it might distract the speaker. Do not interrupt the speaker. Do not jump to the conclusion that you have understood everything. Now, how to improve existing level of communication? Improve the language, improve pronunciation, work on voice modulation, that is changing the voice pitch and tone. Work on the body language. Read more, listen more. Avoid reading or watching or listening unwanted literature, gossip, and media presentations. Interact with qualitative people. Improve on your topic of discussion. Practice meditation and good thoughts. Think and speak. Do not speak too fast. Use simple vocabulary. Do not speak only to impress someone. Look presentable and confident. So this is very important point. Look presentable and confident. Now, improving your body language tips are: keep appropriate distance. Touch only when appropriate. Take care of your appearance. Appearance is very important. Be aware people may give false cues. Maintain the eye contact but do not glare, and smile genuinely. So, good communication is key to success. In the new global and diverse workplace requires excellent communication skills. So, communication skills can be improved, and we should try hard in making our written and oral communication. Hello guys, now we will discuss how to improve your listening skills. There is a saying that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we say. Genuine listening has become a rare gift. So this is an example. So tips to develop effective listening skills. The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply. The first tip is face the speaker and maintain eye contact. Facing person you are talking to shows you are not afraid to listen to what is said. Tilting your head slightly shows you are listening. Break down barriers by adopting other person's pose and actions. Maintain eye contact with the other person. Second is be attentive but relaxed. The Third is keep an open mind. Once you indulge in criticizing, jumping to conclusions, or trying to speed up by interrupting and finishing other person's sentences, you have compromised your effectiveness as a listener. So don't do these things. Number 4 is listen to the words and try to picture what the speaker is saying. Don't interrupt and don't impose your solutions. Wait for the speaker to ask clarifying questions. When you don't understand something, of course you should ask the speaker to explain it to you. But rather than interrupting, wait until the speaker pauses. Ask questions only to ensure understanding. Try to feel what the speaker is feeling. Empathy is the heart and soul of good listening. So empathy means you understand the feeling of the person who is speaking to you. Give the speaker regular feedback. Pay attention to what isn't said, to non-verbal cues, that is the non-verbal communication, that how the other person is speaking to you or conveying the message. So there is a saying that when your spouse is talking, turn off the television. When your child is talking, turn off the world. So these were some tips regarding to improve the listening skills. Thank you very much for listening. Hello guys, now we will discuss very important topic, which is believing in yourself, that is self-confidence. There is a saying that in order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure. So in this saying, there are two important concepts. One is desire for success, that is we must have a burning desire for success. And the second concept is overcoming fear of failure, that is we must have to overcome the fear of failure. By achieving these two attitudes, we can definitely lead our path to success. In self-confidence science, we have a factor, that is power of thought. Our thoughts play a very important role in building our self-confidence. All behavior begins and ends as thoughts. There are bad thoughts and good thoughts. Bad thoughts would be detrimental for our success, and good thoughts would pave our way to success. And there is think, feel, act model, that bad thoughts, bad thinking lead us to feel anxious, and that anxiety lead us to act in a way that lead us to failure. We will see further. Thoughts are unavoidable. They will come, but we have to build a mechanism in our mind to deal with the bad thoughts. Our thoughts influence our actions, and there is self-fulfilling prophecy. What is a self-fulfilling prophecy? A self-fulfilling prophecy is a belief that comes true because we are acting as if it is already true. For example, if someone thinks he is a failure, then he will think that he is a failure and he will act accordingly, and this will ultimately lead to his failure. So that would be the self-fulfilling prophecy. To reverse it, the thought process, the negative thought process will have to be replaced. Once replaced, the person can build up self-confidence, and this will lead to his success. So with the negative thinking, there is anxiety. There is a feeling of anxiety, and that feeling of anxiety will lead to act accordingly, and that action will further lead to the failure or the self-fulfilling prophecy. So how to overcome it? Stop it before it starts. Control your thoughts, because it will make you anxious. With anxiety, there is a build-up to the point in which you feel and act on it. If you think that you cannot succeed, you cannot pass the examination, you will not try hard. And when you will not try hard, you will not learn, and ultimately you will fail. So, in order to cope this, you first have to replace your thoughts. You have to think that you can succeed, and with this thought you will feel positive, and you will then work hard, and with hard work your preparation will be good, and with good preparation the chances for your success would definitely increase. So for self confidence, our thoughts should be controlled, and bad thoughts should be replaced with the good thoughts. So you have to build the belief in oneself. A self-confident person thinks that he or she can reach a goal or cope with that situation. This is again a thought process. And what happens when the confidence is lost? When the confidence is lost, the person will not act, and this will ultimately lead to the self-fulfilling prophecy. So self-confidence cycle is the feeling of competence, which will lead to the self-motivation. And when the person is self-motivated, he will use strategies of success, and then he will perform, and with actions he will ultimately succeed. And this will again increase self-confidence in him. So we will now discuss the techniques for building self-confidence. First of all, you have to regulate your emotional level. Be aware of the feelings, and we should be aware of our feelings, that what we are thinking. If we are thinking negative, we should quickly replace the negative thoughts with the positive thoughts. Reduce the drive to avoid your goal. Block the fear producer from your awareness, that what the fear is producing, what thoughts are producing fear in you, remove them. And use the relaxation techniques. Listen to the relaxing songs, or do the things which relax you. The next is build competence. Develop the technical skills in the profession, or develop learning skills of the books. There are skills you have to develop, that how to learn, how to read the book. With competence built, your confidence level will definitely increase. Develop the can-do attitude instead of this attitude that you can't do it. And stretch your body. This is a physical technique, that when you stretch your body, you will feel confident. And make a list of your accomplishments. When you feel less confident, you should visit your list of accomplishments. This will give you a feeling of great confidence. Build strong faith in Almighty God, that God is just, and He will reward you for the efforts. So with this positive mindset, you will work further hard. Develop a learning attitude, that past failures were not failures, they were just chances for more learning. Every failure gives a learning lesson. So learn the lesson and never give up spirit. So build this spirit that you will not give up. You will again try again and again, unless you have achieved your goal. So these are some tips for building self-confidence. The crux is that replace your negative thoughts and bad thoughts with the good thoughts. So with positive mindset, you will try hard, and you will ultimately achieve your goal. Thank you very much for listening. Hello guys, now we will discuss very important topic, which is assertiveness in the workplace. It's related to the communication skills. In communication, we see that there are normally 4 styles of communication, which are passive, aggressive, and assertive. We will see one by one what are these, and among these, the last one, assertiveness, is the most desirable. So we should try to develop this communication style. So what is passive communication? Usually soft voice, overly agreeable, avoidance, withdrawn body language, unsure sound, beat around the bush, sound hopeless or helpless. So if your style is like this, you have passive communication. So these are some examples of the passive messages. So you are very much passive in this style. And now this is the passive aggressive communication. Now most what I have seen is that most of the people have this kind of passive aggressive communication, but it is not desirable. So in this style of communication is you appear to agree but you really does not agree, tell others but not the source of the concern, make subtle digs and sarcastic remarks, and other non-verbal contradicts the verbal messages, you criticizes after the fact. So this picture shows very clearly this type of behavior, that you appear to be nice but from deep inside you are not. So this is a passive aggressive type of communication. Examples are like this. So if you have passive aggressive communication style, that's even not even desirable. Then there is aggressive communication style. In aggressive communication style, you have an aggressive approach, like you blame, intimidate other person, you demand or order, you have a raised voice, you have harsh language, verbal browbeating, as well as bullying, and this is definitely not desirable. Some aggressive messages, like you must, because I said so, you idiot, you always, that's a very famous, you always, you never, you screwed this up. So if people have this sort of communication style, they would be termed as aggressive. So this is the very desirable style, which is the assertive communication style. Now these are the its traits. It takes the responsibility, it takes the initiative, it listens actively. We have 2 ears and 1 tongue, so we should, our listening should be greater than speaking. So he speaks up in a constructive way, firm way, shows sincerity, solution focused, and is confident, have a confident voice, addresses concerns directly to the source, and requests needs. Some messages are like, that was my mistake, I understand your point, let me explain why I disagree with that point. So in that mode of communication, the person states his point of view but does not become so much aggressive. So this is the basic difference between aggressive and assertive. Aggressive person is blunt, whereas assertive person is direct. In aggressive, the tone is harsh, in assertiveness it is firm, and so on. So another important communication is eye contact. Our eye contact should be firm, but it should not just like that we are staring someone. So make steady eye contact, maintain eye contact, look in the right places. So eye contact pitfalls: staring and glaring, looking away and all around, darting glances, blinking excessively. So if you blink excessively, that is not desirable. Glazing over, focusing in one person. In body language, posture is very important. Your posture should be right, your facial expressions are very important, and your gestures are very important. And in body language, there are some body language pitfalls like slouching, invading space, hovering over the listener, looking blank, looking stern, folding your arms. So you should not fold your arms and exhibiting distracting habits. So these are not desirable. Now set the tone. Project your voice, show the inflection in your voice, display sincerity in your tone. And vocal pitfalls: sounding uncertain, being too soft spoken, mumbling, being too loud, dropping your voice at the end of a sentence, sounding monotonous. So try to bring change in your tone. Putting people down with your tone, having harshness in your tone, speaking too fast. If you are speaking too fast, that's not desirable. And this is final slide, that assertive communication, it's not a guarantee, not another, should not negative, take charge of oneself, middle ground style, and active expressive focus. So it's not passive, it's not aggressive, it's in between thing, it's firm, it's confident, and it's solution oriented. So in communication style, this assertive communication style is desirable for corporate success. Thank you very much for listening. Now we will discuss very important topic, which is teamwork. Two or more individuals with a high degree of interdependence geared toward the achievement of a goal or the completion of a task. Teams make decisions, solve problems, provide support, accomplish missions, and plan their work. So there is a common goal, and there are two or more individuals which are tied together, and they are interdependent, and their purpose is to accomplish the task. How is a team different from a group or a committee? Teams embody a collective action arising out of task interdependency. Members of the team agree on the goal. Members agree that they must work together to achieve the goal. Each member is viewed as having one or more important roles to play to successfully achieve the goal. There is less hierarchy within the unit than in most work groups. So the team is different from a group or a committee. In team, the people are tied together and they have to perform certain roles, and together they achieve a common purpose. There are many types of teams. Examples are athletic team, natural work group, business team, improvement team, and healthcare team, depending upon the function they are doing or what is their objective. Understanding the group behavior. Group content: what is being said, the words and the discussion, and the group process, how the group works, methods, ways of making decisions, and how people participate. Aspects of group process communication: who talks to whom, who interrupts and how is it handled, how are quiet members treated, high and low participators, shifts in participation levels, do people look at each other when they talk, how are new members treated. So these are some aspects of group processes regarding communication. And aspects of group processes regarding decision making: what process does the group use to make decisions? Is the process agreed upon by everyone? Does the process change as group proceeds? Does anyone make a decision and carry out without agreement from the others? Is there evidence of a majority pushing a decision? Are minority opinions heard? Aspects of group process problem solving. So, does the group take time to understand the problem? Is the problem well articulated? Is there time for brainstorming creative solutions? Can the group move from problem identification, identifying possible solutions, to selecting solutions and implementation? So these are certain aspects of problem solving. Now, group problem solving. Identify the problem. Generates the ideas, involve people, listen for common themes, organize the ideas, evaluate the alternatives, manage the conflict, get information, develop the plan, assign responsibilities, find resources, and then monitor the progress, motivate, details, and finish, and then a presentation. So this is a group problem solving process. Recognizing dysfunctional behavior, which is blocking, aggression, dominating, withdrawing, or out of the field behavior. Now team roles, we will discuss now the team roles, which are initiating, seeking and giving information, clarifying, summarizing, consensus taking, and accountability. Team roles relationships, communication gatekeeping, encouraging, resolving conflict, acknowledging feelings, setting standards or norms, and finally openness. Attitudes for effective teamwork. Now, appreciation for value of team decisions, respect for the team members, mutual trust, openness to feedback, reflection on group process and interest in improving, shared vision. Now, what are the characteristics of effective teams? Members have a clear goal. The focus is on achieving results. There is a plan for achieving the goal. Members have clear roles and responsibilities. Members are committed to the goal. There is commitment. Members are competent. They possess the skills which are required to carry out their responsibilities. They achieve decisions through consensus. Not there is any type of dictatorship or dominating behavior of one person. The decisions are made through consensus. There is diversity among team members. Members have effective interpersonal skills. They know each other well and they have good relationships. More characteristics: each member feels empowered to act, speak up, and offer ideas. Each member has a high standard of excellence. An informal climate and easiness exists among members. The team has a sport of management. The team is open to new ideas. There is periodic self-assessment. There is shared leadership of the team. The team is relatively small size. There is an optimum size of the team, which makes it very effective. There is recognition of team member accomplishments. That is sharing the credit. That the credit will be shared among the team members. Not only one person is taking the credit. This is against the teamwork. There are sufficient resources to support the teamwork. Effective team building takes time. There must be frequent and prolonged contact. Team members come together around a specific goal or a project. Effective teams go through 4 stages of team development. Now, what are the 4 stages of team development? Forming, storming, norming, and performing. Every effective team goes through these life cycle stages. Forming. Team members are introduced and begin getting to know each other. Goals and tasks are established. Generally, polite behavior among members. Norms are not understood. Storming. This is the conflict stage. The members are sizing each other up and may feel more comfortable and voice their views. Members may compete for team roles. Members may argue about goals or how they should be accomplished. Members may choose sides against other members. So this is a somewhat conflicting stage. But after storming, there comes norming. Once issues are resolved, agreement occurs around team norms and expectations. Trust and common interests are developed. roles and objectives are clarified and understood. And then comes performing stage. Members make contributions and they are motivated by the results. Leadership is shared according to members' knowledge and skills. Norms and culture are well understood. Tasks get accomplished effectively and efficiently. And then comes the stage of team dysfunctioning, that the team is finished. So the four stages are forming, storming, norming, performing, in which every team experiences these four stages. So thank you very much for listening. Hello guys, now we will discuss teamwork communication. Effective leaders know that their team's performance hinges on being a great communicator. When a leader communicates effectively, everyone understands the vision and the values of the organization's culture. Improving communication skills with your team is a journey we all must take to motivate and inspire others. Great communication, great team. Research has found that 3 or more people working together on a project are much more effective than a single person spending all of his time doing the same thing, like the concept of synergy where 1 plus 1 is equal to 11. However, without communication, the 3 plus team members can be as useless as if the project men are untouched. So without communication, there is no use of 3 plus team. What makes a communication process effective? Allow members to stay updated with team progress and ensure that difficulties or setbacks can be dealt collaboratively. So all persons of the team should be on the same page. Provide all team members with the same information to keep all members adequately informed. Encourage the team members to remain goal focused and outcome directed. How to become a great leader communicator? Continuously seek feedback to ensure that your messages have been received accurately. So seeking feedback is very important element in teamwork. Make it your priority to express rather than impress. Primary aim is to get your message across. Try not to obstruct it by being focused on sounding impressive or knowledgeable. Choose the right medium. Select the medium to suit the message and the person you are communicating with. Be conscious of your non-verbal communication, that is your body language. Adjust your body language to align with your message. There should not be any conflict between your body language and your verbal message. Communication creates a team. Guidelines to team communication. Be specific. Include relevant facts and details. Be accurate. Information should be true and reliable. Be honest. Be truthful to everyone. Be logical. Make sure messages are easy to flow. Be complete. Provide needed information. Be concise, which means be brief. Be relevant. Give needed information only. Ask for feedback. Ask recipients to give their comments. Responsibilities of team members to ensure effective communication. Stay open-minded. Listen carefully. Provide feedback. Make sure all team members should get a chance to communicate. Always discuss pros and cons before making any decision. Take ownership of what you say. Use words and examples that your team understands. Thank you very much. Hello guys, Now we will discuss very important topic, which is conflict management. First of all, we need to understand what is the difference between a conflict and disagreement. If the process stops, then that is a conflict, and if the process does not stop, then that would be a disagreement. So we can easily, with this definition, we can easily judge that whether there is a conflict or disagreement between two persons. If the process has stopped or the working has been stopped, then that disagreement would be termed as a conflict. However, if the process is not stopped and both parties have difference of opinion, then that would be a disagreement. The sources of conflict, we will discuss now the sources of conflict. Personal differences. There are differences in personality. Different expectations, perceptions, values and beliefs can cause people to disagree. Conflicting objectives. People can experience conflict because their objectives are different. Lack of information. Misinformation, misrepresentation and miscommunication are all common sources of conflict within the organization. Role incompatibility. Conflict often arises when people's goals and responsibilities don't align with their expectations or values. Environmental conflict. Lack of resources and uncertainty are the two major stressors, and they are therefore common sources of conflict. Managing conflict. Thomas Kilmann, conflict mode instrument conflict styles. Competitive, high assertiveness and low cooperativeness. You take a firm stand and don't take the other person's need into consideration. That would be the competitive conflict handling mode. Collaborative, high assertiveness and high cooperativeness. You want to meet the needs of everyone, a win-win situation, yourself and the other person. Avoidant, low assertiveness and low cooperativeness. You avoid conflict altogether. Accommodative, low assertiveness and high cooperativeness. You sacrifice your own needs for the need of others. That is lose-win situation. Compromising, medium assertiveness and medium cooperativeness. You find a solution that partially satisfies everyone's needs. Not fully satisfied, but partially satisfies everyone. So find your dominant conflict style. In this photograph, we can see that there are two views. If we see this picture from the right side, we can see an old lady. However, if we try to see that picture from the left side, then we will see a young girl. So it's the same. So the different persons can look at this at one picture with different points of view. So the people can have different points of view regarding one situation. There is a saying that alone we can do so little, together we can do so much, which is the concept of synergy, that is 1 plus 1 is equal to 11, which leads to the teamwork. Negotiation, we should also learn to negotiate and develop the negotiation skills in order to manage the conflicts in the workplace and in real life. There are different styles of negotiation. We will discuss them one by one. Outcome important, relationship important. Here you approach the negotiation sensitively and in a win-win way, seeking to preserve and improve the relationship. At the same time that you collaborate to help one another get what you want. You in that way, you basically save your relationship and also achieve what you want. The second style is outcome important, relationship unimportant. These are the win-lose situations where you will never see the other person again, but absolutely want to get what you want. For example, think about buying a used car or a house. These can be tough, unpleasant negotiations. But here what is important is that your outcome. Your relationship is not important because you will not see that person in future. The next one is outcome unimportant, relationship important. Here you can comfortably accommodate the other person's need with no real loss to yourself. That would be lose-win situation. And the final one is outcome unimportant, relationship unimportant. It may not be worth bothering to negotiate in these situations because neither the outcome is important nor the relationship important. So better to avoid it. So this is a chart. Along x-axis we have importance of outcome and along y-axis we have importance of relationship. So we have four modes: collaboration, accommodation, avoidance and competition. Competition for when the outcome is high, when our outcome is high and our importance of relationship is low. And collaboration is where outcome is high and importance of relationship is also high. We have the accommodation when the relationship is of high importance and the outcome is of low importance. And avoidance when we have both importance of outcome and relationship low. Emotional intelligence. So there is a saying of Albert Einstein, any fool can know, the point is to understand. Emotional intelligence means understanding the feelings of people around us. Emotional intelligence plays an important role in your success in career. So it is equally important as IQ. So EQ is as important as IQ for success in the job. Meeting skills. So conflict can be managed by improving the meeting skills. That can be there can be separate training on developing the meeting skills. With clear objectives. So conflict can be avoided by having the clear objectives. A process oriented approach. And there is conflict layer model, like an onion model. So this model states that we have one important, the core problem, and we take different positions, but the problem is in the core, that the needs what we must have. And this layer, there is another layer of interests, that why we want what we say we want, and then we have the final positions what we say we want. So for resolving conflict, we should try to uncover the important needs, the real needs, like the onion layers, that if we keep on removing the onion layers, we get the core inside. So we need to approach the main needs, but we need to understand the main needs. So this conflict layer model helps us to understand the conflict and resolve it in a positive way. Thank you very much.